Hello, everyone. Thank you, ET, for this opportunity. And let me welcome Ranjit and Shiju to today's fireside chat on digitization and security and how they are imperative for successful fintech. Now, if you look at India's fintech ecosystem, it has evolved rapidly over the last couple of years. So we have unicorns coming out of India. And this year, the growth has been phenomenal, right? And fintech is no longer just about payments. It has moved to lending, insurance, right? So there's a common saying in P and VC circles that every company will be a fintech company. But for a successful fintech, what are some of the key areas and what are some of the key imperatives companies and fintech companies should look at? So I would like to bring both Ranjit and Shiju into this discussion and start by Mr. Shiju first and ask what are his company solutions with respect to operational efficiency and how they are addressing issues of security.
Thank you, Sharad. Thank you, Sharad. I think it's a very good question for the session. Definitely, when you spoke about the fintech, I think fintech has moved from the payment worlds and the BFSI world all put together. Fintech has moved to every leg and space of the business verticals if you look upon. So today, if you look upon for EdTech, education has moved completely to EdTech. If you look upon medical field, it has moved to MedTech. If you look upon from e-commerce perspective, it has already moved long time before the day. So everything, so whatever you want to have, even if you have to have food, you have a food tech. So you go to some of the platform and that's how you get the order. So everything is moving towards the tech world. So definitely fintech will not be a fin word will be there. It will be a technology word going forward. And that's how we also are revolving ourselves into the business, into the new generation by developing new platforms, which are helping us to gear up into the next leap. Definitely data is helping us, and since being a data company, for us data is one of the key parameters wherein the data, evolving the data with a lot of insights, what we can do, we can bring it the value additions and the value additional products to the customer. So that's what we are trying to do. So data platforms are one of the key aspect what we are working on to. And when we talk about the data aspect, definitely security is revolved around it, and you have to protect it from two aspects. One is from the regulatory aspect, because you can't share some of the data to the customers. You can share the data, some of the data to the customers. So you will have to put up two angles out of the security out over there. So one, the classifications. How do you classify the data? Who to access? How to access? How much to be accessed? I think that's the one perspective. Second is definitely from the data, any sort of data breach perspective. So that's the one key factor. So what we have done as a transformation, when we talk about, everyone talks about the transformation from the digital transformations, data transformations, AI transformation. So we also have put up a project called security transformation. Perhaps this transformation was built up on a 5-pillar piece, what we always believe on. One is its solutions, because to prevent any sort of security breach, you need to have a security solution. So definitely to look upon the security solutions focused around the platforms and the solutions, what you offer to the customer. So that's the one thing. Second pillar is most important is from the governance perspective, because once you implement any sort of security solutions, you need to have a strong governance across over it. Third is more from audit perspective, because once you have the governance and technology solutions, you need to build up a strong audit, because continuous audit is required in terms of any sort of implementation. Fourth is more from documentations and the process, because that's the one key thing. Skills moves out, the technology comes in. So definitely you need to have the processes aligned to it. And fifth is more from the skill sets, because you need to have your own team to manage it. So building a skills around it. So that's the 5-pillar transformations what we have built up internally to manage the security postures within the organizations. So that's all what we are trying to do. But definitely when I spoke about the business transformation, it's a data which we are depending 100% data analytics with the complete BI, which we are building it up to give the value addition to the customers.
Thanks, Shiju. And I think you rightly spoke about skill development, right? Because you need the right resources to also look into these areas and support your customers and clients. Now, let me come to Mr. Ranjit and get his views on how most of the businesses and companies are becoming digital native and moving their critical applications to cloud. So when you do that, what are some of the do's and don'ts? What is the best way forward of moving critical applications to cloud?
Thanks, Sharad. I'll take it on from what Shiju mentioned, tech, data, and transformation, right? Interestingly, these have become combined now, and people call it digital transformation very clearly, right? With customers rapidly moving to digital-only channels to perform their daily activities, including banking, right? Banks need to actually provide more services, but to ensure that their customer journey is frictionless and secure and delivered on the channel of preference, because that's what customers are looking for. So banks must basically evolve their core system architecture so that it moves closer to flexible and cloud-native architectures. Next generation technology stacks are flexible, hyperscalable, secure, intelligent, and event-driven. With these in place, banks can leverage data, an agile core, and intelligent IT to overcome existing challenges and becoming more customer-centric, more efficient, and more platform-driven businesses. You need to consider proven scalable technologies. They should also allow software services to be developed, leveraged across different channels, and hence promoting software reuse. For example, microservices is an ideal architecture for addressing scalability challenges. Application server and container technologies both provide good robustness options for the platform. You need to consider how to provision for high availability and protect against failover. There are also options to think about across both on-premise and cloud deployments. You need to consider, last but not the least, end-to-end security for the digital engagement flow, regardless of what channels it originated from. Like Shiju mentioned today, the customer data, the customer transformation is linked back to the kind of strategies which banks need to drive for the future. So very clearly, cloud is the critical part for most of the digital transformation which the banks are driving today.
Thank you, Ranjit, for your views. And I think omni-channel is one of the strategies most businesses are approaching, and your insights are very helpful. Let me come to Shiju again and get his views on all these emerging technologies, AI, blockchain, Internet of Things. So how do you intend to use these technologies for your clients? What are your views on that?
I think the adoption for these sort of technologies has started a couple of years back itself, though it is getting matured at this stage of now. But I think knowingly or unknowingly, because today, if you want to be raised with the competitions, you need to be flexible, you need to be more agile, you need to be more resilient in terms of adopting new technologies. That's the need of the hour. So definitely every organization's on one way or other way, they are started using these sort of technology. And being, for us, a data company, definitely AI is playing a vital role, because that's how what we built up our own models and more the platforms completely based on AI and ML algorithms. And I think going forward, it will be the game changer for everything. So as we looked upon for a couple of years back with the digital transformations, I think now it's a data transformations what will play a vital role for every organization. And being, when we talk about the data, definitely AI and ML will help us in terms of visibility for the data. Irrespective of that, a lot of other aspect of the business processes also started moving towards the automation. So when we talk about the automation, definitely AI plays a vital role in terms of helping it to building the models and automate the models, feeding with the AI algorithms. And that's how the adoptions are happening. And I don't foresee any sort of reluctance for any of the organizations, irrespective of the BFSI. People will say no to these sort of technologies. So some or other way, I think everyone has already adopted it. So today, the customer service, it has completely gone automated with the AI based, the chatbots and everything. So I think adoption, huge adoptions. But when you want to look upon and kneel down to each and bits and pieces of the processes where you are using, you will be surprised to know there are hundreds of bots which are already running within the organizations. So it's more from the inventory perspective and the visibility perspective, and combining the technologies what we are running within the organizations. I think AI and ML is a game changer for every business out of here.
Right. And the way intelligent automation or cognitive automation is picking up is also a testament to this fact. But let's also talk about some of the technical outages which some of the banks have faced in past and they continue to face, right? So let me get Ranjit's views on this. What do you think, how these outages can be prevented? What is the way forward? How can a resilient system can be built for financial institutions and banks? Ranjit,
Unfortunately, we've had the banking industry in the news for all the wrong reasons with the outages. So technology by itself, there is a lot of technologies today which are available, like you mentioned, AI, ML. But the fact is that if you have a bank down and the consumer is not able to reach his system, so it's not going to work. So with regards to the banks and the digital infrastructure, one of the main challenges is that they've been built on legacy architectures, which don't scale well with the digital consumer. Especially post the pandemic, you've seen the kind of digital adoption which has happened by the consumers. So clearly the banks are not scaled because of the fact that there's a lot of legacy architecture which the banks have got. In the always on world, ensuring customers can connect to business anytime, anywhere, on any device, whether it's on-prem or on cloud, has become a norm. Now, there's a common misconception in IT that IT outages are unavoidable. It's a part of the business operations. But however, a large percentage of all downtime is not related to failure in technology itself, but it is how the technology is being used, configured, and administered. The failure is usually down to a combination of lack of training and planning. Hence, banks should look at choosing service providers who might offer the right technology stack and the right kind of services. What remains unchanged is that digital experience is a part of the fabric for any business operating in the financial services, from retail banks serving to customers to high-frequency trading firms where milliseconds of latency can mean millions of revenue loss. Customer retention and employee productivity is now dependent on a good digital experience without delay or failure. Nonetheless, this is easier said than done, especially when you add remote employees and online customers to the mix. Providing this first-rate digital experience at scale now hinges on a complex supply chain made up of the internet itself, the kind of cloud offerings or the cloud services which are adopted by the bank, whether it is on the infrastructure or a software as a service, infrastructures that lie outside a financial services firm view and control. So clearly, for banks to build a scalable and resilient system, it is a combination of people, processes, and technology, which is going to help them prevent most of the digital outages or glitches which the bank have seen.
Thank you, Ranjit, for your views. I would like to put another question to you. What do you think, what are some of the challenges banks or financial institutions are facing when it comes to transitioning to cloud? What are some of the challenges or roadblocks do you see?
Well, the transitioning to the cloud is happening. It's not that it is not, it is reflected in the digital transformation the banks are doing and have done in the last so many months and years. But to take the full benefits of cloud, many legacy systems don't work on cloud. A lot of traditional banks have these legacy systems that simply don't work, or they would rather not risk trying to do this transition across. The lack of clarity on what to move to cloud, for example. On top of this, many financial organizations struggle to determine what systems can be moved to cloud, which can be kept on premises. For example, for some legal reasons, some banks' customer data might be stored in a particular server in a particular place. The businesses might be unsure whether they could be introducing regulatory risk by moving certain data systems across to the cloud. Moving to cloud can be slow and expensive. Banks have to weigh upon the total cost of ownership with business cases for moving to cloud to decide what is right for them. They need to look at the cost of hosting on-premise and maintaining their own servers versus undergoing a transition to the cloud and ongoing costs of use. So clearly there is a transition which has happened as far as banking is concerned, but they still need to resolve the aspect of the legacy systems which prevent them from migrating most of the applications across from the cloud.
Thank you, Ranjit. Let me bring in Shiju here and get his views on cloud adoption journey of banks and financial institutions. Your thoughts on that, Shiju, please.
The cloud is now almost a decade-old journey, which I think almost all the financial institutions have started slowly adoption. But earlier, the initial stage when the cloud was launched, I think the adoption was a reluctance because of the myth of the regulatory norms. I think which is very clear now. Now the data has to be in India boundary, that is very much clear for everyone. Data centers are there in India, which provides the cloud offerings, as well as there are almost all the services offered through the Indian boundary. So I think adoption has been increased. Now, as Ranjit said about the legacy applications, definitely the legacy applications are residing back in the on-premises, but otherwise, all the new gen applications which have been modernized, it's moving to the cloud. And that's how the cloud is helping us, because the world has moved from the legacy applications and the three-tier architecture to the containerizations. And that's how the adoptions are happening more and more on the cloud. And that's the way the journey, because today you don't know what could be the scalability you may require for tomorrow. So definitely you may have to be on cloud for the scalable solutions and flexible solutions. That's how the cloud adoption is happening more. Slowly and steadily in initial days, when I saw the cloud journey, the movement was from the periphery applications, which was all the supportable applications. Rather, only the core business application used to be on-premise. Now that has also moved to the clouds. So I think in next few months, I think everything will be operating out of the cloud because of the need of the hours and the go to the market strategy, what we want in order to move faster. And the bigger challenge in terms of managing the data centers and all. So it becomes very tough for any of the BFSI sector, because that's not their ball of game. And managing the data center itself is a bigger challenge, because you need to have the skill sets of various types. And I think that a piece is completely moved away from the technology piece of the BFSI sectors, which definitely the service providers can manage on a better SLAs and the better way what the BFSI can manage on. I think everywhere it's moving. So you will see in next few years, everything will be offered on the SaaS platforms or on the preferably on the PaaS platform to the BFSI. So that's how the world is moving towards in the BFSI sector.
Thanks, Shiju. So what are some of your closing remarks with respect to what is the way forward in a multi-cloud environment, what businesses should do, and how technology service providers can pitch in and help?
I think before moving towards the cloud, the technology team should look upon, assess the applications, what they want to move. That's the one thing, because it's a myth that everything can move to the cloud, but definitely to move, and everything can move to the cloud, definitely. But what the performance you are expecting of the cloud, it depends on the applications also. And certainly the service providers will not be able to help you in terms of getting in depth of the applications. But yes, they will help you to assess the applications compatibility on the cloud. But definitely you need to know what the things to be moved first, how to modernize it, how to adopt more in terms of containerization, microservices, serverless architectures which you want to adopt. I think that's architect should come from the BFSI or the customer side. That's the one thing which I would say. Second, you need to align with the business. So you need to know what the scalability you are looking for next 1 to 3 years. That's how you can plan it up, hybrid models for your business. And that's the key important aspect out over here, because at many times we only see others what they are doing and we try to adopt that model. I think rather than replicating a model, you should build your own models, what you want to do, where you want to reach, what your target. And I think that's more important. Second, when we talk about hybrid, definitely it's a prerogative of the customer who should build up a security postures out over there, because the governance factors, what you have built up at the on-premise, definitely should replicate it in the cloud as well, so that you can have the homogeneous structures on the security postures, rather than anticipating that everything will be done by the service providers. It's not, unless you are on a PaaS services, you are not going to be secured. So you need to secure your boundaries irrespective of cloud or on-premise. So that's the one thing which I would like to convey as a closing remarks.
Thanks, Shiju. Ranjit, your closing remarks, please.
I think quickly, I'll just add two aspects to add on to what Shiju said. One is the hybrid cloud itself. I think hybrid is going to be something which most of the banks or financial institutions are going to implement in the future. The second aspect, when he spoke about microservices and containerization, the idea is, can the applications go to non-proprietary stack on more open source platforms, which can take the benefit of scalability, which the cloud offers. The challenge has always been on the proprietary stack, which the banks actually drive or build these applications on. If they can move to open source architectures, I think they will take more benefit on the microservices and the containerization which is available today. I think these two are the areas which clearly the banking industry needs to relook at.
Thank you, Ranjit, and thank you, Shiju, for your insights. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Sharad. Thanks, Shiju, for the call.
Thank you, Ranjit.
Thank you.
Nice talking to you.
Thank you.